Welcome to From the Mind of Christine McConnell. Today we're doing a bonus episode of a trip my mom and I went on to Newport, Rhode Island. It is this beautiful place along the East Coast that has these mansions that you can tour, and they are overflowing with details and inspiration, and I figured that was worth turning into an episode for you. So I hope you enjoy this, and with that said, let's begin. We started out our trip by driving 5 hours to the furthest point of Massachusetts I think you can get to. It's this tiny little finger that extends away from Boston, and at the very tippy top point there is a place called Provincetown that my mom and I had never been to. We drove all this way just because I wanted to stay at this one particular place called the Land's End. It was initially built as a summer bungalow in 1904, but it's been run as an inn since the 1920s. Oh, let me share with you how I found this place. So a couple years ago, I was doing an internet search for homes that have been converted into hotels. And the reason I love those so much is big generic hotels. They all kind of look the same and they're not very exciting. And I do love a bed and breakfast, but occasionally, they can be run by sort of unusual people that, I don't know, sometimes trap you in very odd conversations. So estates that have been turned into hotels seem to hit that perfect sweet spot. So it's generally what I'm always looking for. I actually can't believe there aren't more places like this, just because it is so incredibly fun to go somewhere different that you've never been and just be immersed in somebody else's creativity. I just generally find it really inspiring, and especially if it's executed as well as this, it just makes for an amazing experience. This works both ways. After getting all settled in, we headed down to the Red Inn for dinner, and it was this really cool little place that was right on the water. And right where we were seated, it was freezing cold, and there were these cute little creatures swimming around in the water. For dinner, they had a vegetarian option of a savory bread pudding that was actually amazing. And then afterward, we ordered a few of their desserts, and they were all really good. The following morning, we got made up and decided to wander around the town. The day was so beautiful, and we were wandering down this main street when we stumbled upon what to me is the most exciting thing on earth, which is a vintage clothing store. And it's actually where I picked up this Celadon dress that I'm wearing right now. While we were here, we met the owner. Her name's Maureen, and she explained that she actually has another shop by the same name just about 30 minutes back the way we came. So we decided we are definitely going to check that out on our way out. But until then, we just decided to wander around, go get some dinner. And it's worth mentioning that every single person we bumped into was so incredibly friendly here, and I would absolutely come back. We had been so cold at dinner the night before that this night we really lucked out with a table right next to a fireplace. After a wonderful dinner, we turned in for that night, and then the following morning, we started heading directly to that other vintage clothing store. This shop was located in the town of Orleans, and it was so much bigger than the shop up in Provincetown, and it just went on and on. And we met several of the people that worked here. They were so incredibly friendly. And after chatting for a while, they actually let us go up into the attics and look through some of the things that they had stored away up there that were kind of too delicate to have out on the showroom. We had such a wonderful time, and this was a really unexpected detour that ended up becoming my very favorite memory from the trip.
It's so pretty.
I gained my love of vintage clothing by watching what my mom wore growing up, and I think she had the same situation with her mother. And it's so wonderful to be able to do these little fun adventures together, just because when we do stumble across something amazing, we're typically both equally excited. And as if this place couldn't get any better, it was located next door to a cemetery. After finding a whole bunch of really fun treasures, then we were finally headed off to Newport, Rhode Island. The building pile of dead bugs on the windows were making filming kind of difficult, so we decided to take our horse and buggy through a car wash. After just a 2-hour drive, we arrived in Newport. The next place we're going is called the Chandler Inn, and it is probably within my top 2 favorite places I've ever stayed. And aside from it being just totally beautiful and located in a really neat area, the people that work there are just beyond friendly. Every single person you bump into is super, super nice. So something I should mention is this hotel is beautiful but fancy. And what I mean by that is I'm only willing to stay one night because I grew up staying in like Motel 8, which is wonderful, but to be able to experience something like this is very new to me and amazing. And so for that reason, I'm going to run around and document as many of the little details as I can. Our room had a really beautiful ocean view and a bathtub that was maybe about the nicest I've ever been able to use. All I could think while looking at the walls and ceilings were Jessica Lange screaming about Naughty Pine. After getting settled in, we went to dinner at the hotel and we had some of the most unique and delicious desserts I've ever seen. While we were out at dinner, they turned down the room, and when we came back, the lights had been dimmed, there was soft music playing, our charge cords had been organized and sort of tied away with Velcro, and on the bed there was this little box of chocolates that was a paper suitcase, and it was all of these details that just make the experience so amazing. And what is so great about this is when you go home, you can pick the things that really jumped out at you, and when people come to stay with you, you can use those things to sort of make them feel extra special and at home.
With some treats in it. Can't wait to see what they are.
At the Chandler, which I have to say is pretty close to one of my favorite hotels ever.
It's pretty fancy.
Yeah.
And who is your favorite child?
All my children the same.
Anyhow, well, I love you, and This is a little video.
I love you too.
My younger brother and I like to tease each other that the other is her favorite, but I'm pretty sure it's actually him. All right, the next morning we had breakfast, we got made up, and then we were off on our way to start touring the mansions in Newport. For breakfast, my mom had an omelet, I had toast and a fruit bowl, and this little pitiful bird had the leftovers. My mom had the idea for me to go sit on this bench so she could get a video, and this is what she got. The very first place we went to tour is called Rose Cliff, and this was built between 1898 and 1902. While I was researching this house, I recognized the name of the architect from an episode of My Favorite Murder. 4 years after designing this home, architect Stanford White, who was clearly very invested in his mustache, was murdered by the husband of Gibson Girl inspiration and first supermodel Evelyn Nesbit on the rooftop of Madison Square Garden in front of a shocked group of onlookers. Can't you just imagine running down this staircase in the middle of the night with a billowing nightgown and a candlestick? Because I sure can. The plasterwork in this room is so intimidating. It makes what I did here at this house in the bird room look like a finger-painted Thanksgiving Day turkey. That said, it is really inspiring to see just how far you can take this art form. I absolutely love this style of painting. Our next stop is a mansion called The Elms, which was built in 1901. 60 years later, by 1961, it had actually been sold to a developer that was just months away from having it demolished before the Newport Preservation Society purchased the home and saved it from destruction. This home was my personal favorite, and the idea that anyone would think to destroy it or demolish it is just beyond bonkers to me. The ceiling in this one is just incredible. These pillows were custom made for the handover ceremony when Marie Antoinette left Austria and became the Dauphine of France. Something so neat about when we went into the bathroom was I was looking at the bathtub and I started noticing the fixtures are almost identical to the ones that are here. And these houses were built, I think, around the same time. And so it's so amazing to think that obviously anything that was here would be there, because this is kind of a Cracker Jack box compared to how incredible these houses are. Several scenes from the Gilded Age were actually filmed in this room, and I don't know if you're a fan of that show, but I absolutely love it. On the back lawn of the property, there was a sculpture of a tiger killing an alligator, and I loved it so much I wanted to put it in my purse and take it home with me. The last property we visited is called The Breakers, and this was built in 1895 for the grandson of Cornelius Vanderbilt. And there's a book called Fortune's Children, which documents this entire family, and it's really fascinating. It's one of my favorites. So if you're interested, check that out. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this property has the last word on maximalism. Every detail is just over the top. Behind the main staircase, there's this incredible grotto, and every single room is just dripping with details. If you've enjoyed this episode and would like to see more, follow the link below to Patreon, where every month I post a new crafting episode. And you'll also find other episodes of trips I have gone on with my mom, as well as a monthly live stream that occasionally is also a craft along. After touring as many of the houses as our feet would allow us, we decided to head off to our final hotel. Castle Hill was built around 1875 and was initially a family residence until about the 1940s, when it was converted to an inn. Grace Kelly actually stayed here at some point in the 1950s while she was filming the movie High Society. That night, we had a wonderful dinner, and the following morning, we had breakfast in the room. Then after that, while I was getting made up, Mom went out on the lawn and filmed the most adorable family of geese, just enjoying the day. All right, we are back. We just had, honestly, such an amazing time. I love making an episode out of these trips just because, I don't know how much time I have to do these things with my mom, and it's such an amazing thing to do. And when it's in the form of an episode, it's like a memory that I can't forget. And so I hope you enjoy it. Please let me know if you do. And if so, I will always try to make an episode when we go on these little trips. So until next time, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you again very soon.